and healing numbers go down, and healers able to add more damage and therefore increase the fight time, well, decrease the fight time based on their skills. So it kind of depends on how you want to judge a tank, because that is typically the
That's
norm
true.
in most games. But you
You
can
bring
look
up
at
a
it from
good
both
point.
ways.
We may be speaking from a colored perspective, and by that I mean a DPS perspective. You don't have to do what I have to do, therefore what you do is not as skillful or whatever.
I don't know. I'm a 3-class player, and tanking is... I could probably do it, like, with one hand while sleeping. And take no damage. Like, it's stupid. Tanks are overpowered. They need massive nerfs, and they need a lot more eds to pick up in fights. And that's just a start.
I mean, I used to, back when I was only DPS... Yeah, back when I was only DPSing, and this is like, we're talking like before I was in D&T, I used to think that tanking was the hardest thing to do. And I used to think that next to that it was healing. And then when I got in D&T and when I actually started tanking a little bit and healing a little bit, it's sort of inversed. I was like, oh, once I did healing, it was like, oh, this isn't hard. I mean, I'm sure getting from, decently being able to keep people alive to being a great healer, there's a big skill difference. But like, just in general, healing was not difficult. And then when I did tanking, I was like massively worried, A, how the hell am I supposed to keep threat on people? And B, I'm the center of attention. Dear God, please don't let me fuck up. But honestly, it ended up being so much easier than DPS. And it's funny because like everyone jokes around, but like let's be real. My biggest downside as a raider is that I put up really good damage, but I also am not the most raid aware person in the world. As a tank, it's so much easier for me to be raid aware and still do my rotation and still do everything else I'm supposed to do. And like I don't even have to think about it. Like somehow tanking is easier to be raid aware, even though tanking is more, there's more consequence for not being raid aware. It's very odd to me. I don't know if that's a universal thing or if it's just that tanking feels more natural to me, but the raid awareness feels easier to handle as a tank.
I think that's 100%, but I think if you look at how fight progressions go, at the start, it's certainly the hardest on tanks, because everyone relies on us, because you can't go anywhere without your tanks. So, at the start, we have to, we need to be able to have that, like, small mitigation memorized in our head, because we need to be watching the fight. We need to be paying attention to other people. We need to help them out. So, it's, like, I get where you're coming from, but I just, like I said, I don't know how to implement it without taking away from me actually, managing the boss. It now becomes, well, just go AoE ads everywhere. And of course, we have seen that in some fights where it is all about ad control. And that is fun for me. But I'm not really tanking anymore. I'm PvPing, which, I'm going to look to the future and say, there's a lot of tanks that struggle at PvP. So, Therefore, that skill cap, if you throw that in there, now means that tanks not only have to be able to play PvE, they have to play PvP in order to PvE with the PvEers. Whereas sometimes your DPS are just hitting dummy targets. So I mean, I think you have to give and get as you go.
I don't know. It's... I am softening my stance on that. I still think tanking is probably the easiest job. It is, but it does have a different skill set, and I don't know if you could, like, make these rotational requirements and have it still be a thing that people would want to do. It's already hard to make people hard to get people to want to do it.
It'd be all about tanking if there was anything for me to actually do to affect a fight. I have no impact on a fight as long as I can grab threat on the things I need to grab threat on.
Well, in that sense, you have the most impact on the fight. Getting stuff and not dying is like...
But that is just such a basic and simple thing to do. Sure. In that, like, once I do it, I'm done. Like, my role in the fight is now sit there for like 6 minutes while my DPS kills this shit.
What else would you have to do with the tank? Go click things? Like, do you have to do puzzles?
Get ads, do anything. I mean, think about even, like, quote-unquote complicated fights. Council is just do the same tank swap over and over again. For 8 minutes until your DPS kills it, and hope that your DPS doesn't pass the DPS check.
To be fair, getting that tank swap down is the reason we took so long to kill it. or it's a large part of the reason anyway. Getting the right tank swap and figuring it out.
Yeah, but then it becomes one mechanic over and over again the entire fight.
Sure.
Basically, once you're
8
down,
minutes
you really
of tank
get
swapping.
it down.
No, that is fair. That criticism of the fight, I mean.
Well, think about things like Raptus. I need you to literally stand in front of this boss. That's it. That's all you do. Stand in front of the boss.
Mm.
Yeah, Raptus was like hilariously easy to tank when I did it, and I was kind of worried about it.
Tank challenge. Walk in here and stand there. Do nothing.
I think you can kind of justify that on all accounts, though. You know, once you have the mechanic learned and or memorized, or you have learned and or memorized how your tank does it, DPS and healing becomes almost the same thing. Okay, do my rotation over here. Do my rotation over there.
But the difference with that is, like, after you swapped a couple times, you can literally do nothing on the boss, and there's not an infraction on you outside of, like, oh, you're a jug, you can't do certain things. All of a sudden, mitigation isn't as good as it could be. But, like, from a standpoint of rotation, you could literally just fucking basic attack every 3 globals. You wouldn't lose thread, and you're not hurting the raid. A DPS, like, fucks up their rotation in Phase 2, and, like, they bottom out like retard because they put an extra explosive probe where they didn't have the energy for it. Oh, they're now fucked, and they're now doing, like, 300 less DPS in Phase 2, and now it's a tighter check. Like,
for sure.
There's less, like, give when you're a DPS. I'm not saying that it's, like, I'm not trying to, like, glorify it or anything, but...
There is an almost unlimited ceiling to DPS, and the ceiling in tanking is roughly potato. Like, I can teach someone to tank all of DFDP in 10
more
minutes.
about the finesse.
You can teach them that, but it will, for them to learn it, that's a whole different thing.
But I can give them all of the knowledge that they need in 10 minutes.
Yes.
I cannot give a DPS all the knowledge they need to pass the DPS checks on raids.
That is because there is a lot of... I guess the other thing is it doesn't really matter what tanking class you play outside of, like, select terrible scenarios like Brontes. And even then, any tank can do that fight.
Yeah, any tank combination can do any fight. There's no, like, massive advantage or disadvantage. The only thing that was minorly, like, an actual difference was having a leap on council, and even then, you just figure out a slightly different way to do it, and you're fine. And I got so used to doing it without a leap that I have done it on my power tech without leaping. Just on reaction, just like, oh yeah, right, I have a leap. It's such a joke. Like, they can't design fights around having a leap because one of the tank classes doesn't have one, so it just simplifies mechanics even more.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the big hiccups in trying to make, tanks busier. Is, say, for instance, we were talking the other day, I'm like, this would be much easier on my power tech, just because I can do things from across the room, whereas on my jug, like I saber throw and I sit there, and it's like, okay, I did that, now I'm going to stand here and wait.
Now you're done. Wait 30 seconds.
And my mitigation falls off, and now I have to get back in and do a proper rotation to get mitigation back up. Is not the better rotation, it's a mitigation rotation. So I think when you start trying to throw all that stuff into the mix, you now are screwing with the balance of the game, and you make it even more important that they have to spend more time on tanks, which, we all know shouldn't be as big of a problem as, making sure, say, the value is your DPS, so the DPS value needs to be balanced. It's important that your healers get balanced so you don't healer stack, or class stack in general. But we all know that never happens. It's a ongoing and continuous thing. So, I expect that we have to expect that and, just deal with it.
All right. I think we've beaten the tanking discussion into the ground for a bit. I will ask... I did promise a brief retrospective on Rise of the Hutt Cartel, and to that end, I've crafted some really, I don't know, you might think they're lame questions about what you thought about Rise of the Hutt Cartel. So I'm going to go around the panel. I'm going to ask you what you think the most memorable thing was. Your favorite thing, your least favorite thing, and the best and worst thing from this expansion. And if you want to split the categories, like if you want to say the best quality of life change, and this is one I would say, the best quality of life change would be the elimination of the false GCD, which did happen this expansion. You can say that.
Can we say mostly fixed?
Are you still getting them?
I get them all the time.
In months and months. Huh.
Tiggs, you also have the most notoriously shitty connection since Blizz of the Red Bar fame.
That is true. You do disconnect a bit.
I've disconnected maybe like 5 times in our raid, but I red bar all the time.
Well,
Even though I think I have like the 3rd lowest ping, and I still
Australians have better connections than you.
The thing is, it's weird.
Canadians in the middle of their moose hunt have a better
weird.
connection than you.
I just have the problem to Star Wars. Like my streaming, my mumble, everything is perfect most of the time, except for like Star Wars, and then Star Wars red bars.
Your mumble will tend to cut out at the same time.
So yeah, sometimes. But like the other day, like when when I was DCing, and I'm just sitting there like we can talk and have a conversation, but Swoldor is saying I'm offline, you know.
I like to blame it on whoever's in your house streaming. That's always like the headcanon for me. Like somebody's torrenting anime, or like someone's like watching Netflix, and all of a sudden your connection goes through the pooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because Comcast throttles me. It's pretty upsetting. But, you know, outside of that, I still get GCD false, and I don't know why a lot of times. Like, if everything's working perfectly, and I'm hitting something, and then it goes, you know, GCD happens, and I'm like, well, you know, whatever.
I will say that I used to get them all the time, regardless of my connection quality, and now the only time it's ever happened to me is when I go from like my regular latency on any server, which is like roughly like 60 to 80, and then it just jumps to like 200. Then I'm going to get a false GCD. But other than that, I don't get it anymore, to be honest with you. So, I mean...
Yeah, I haven't gotten it since the last time they said they fixed it, which, I don't know, it was like a year ago, maybe?
I think it's certainly down to like, you know, it's at least 90% less than what it used to be for me.
We definitely, all right, we went a little bit rabbit hole about false GCDs. Tiggs.
Sir.
Most forgettable thing about this expansion, and I won't be surprised if you can't answer because by the very nature of the question, it was forgotten.
Most forgettable thing, I didn't know most of the expansion. I didn't come to the game until after DF was released.
Oh my god. I did not know that.
He's a male Genevieve. Here we go.
I played Release for like 2-3 months until they broke Ilum, and yeah, I went on hiatus.
I see. So you actually did play on like way back then. You didn't just come to the game. Okay.
No.
Tenebris, same question. Most forgettable thing about this expansion?
Zerka 198.
Ooh, that's actually a pretty good answer. That whole entire plot line was just...
I did that plot line in 10 minutes and was like, oh, right, okay.
It's over. See you, I guess. I did those dailies into the ground, and then they added achievements, so I got mad.
Same with me.
Let's see. Justin, your turn.
For most forgettable?
Yeah.
This may not be popular, because I think most people like what I'm about to say, but for me, my biggest issue was I loved Seeker Droid, and it's very memorable to me. Macro binoculars, not so much. That one was just boring to me, and I didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy the story. It wasn't a thing for me. So for me, it's got to be macro. I loved Seeker Droid. Only was able to do it like twice because like once you do the Heroic 4, you're kind of like, that was amazing. I never want to do that again. But macro,
you and nobody else who
macro was a stretch. It was very annoying. It was very boring as hell to me. Actually, you know what? No, I disagree. I don't know if this was like during the expansion, but like the most forgettable thing ever in this game to me was the HK series, like the mission series.
That was before.
But like just in general though, like once you did that once, it was like I'm just going to unlock this on other characters. Fuck all that.
For me, my answer is Bounty Contract Week. I do not care.
Bounty Contract Week.
I didn't care when I was doing it. I only did it for the rewards. And once I got the achievements, I stopped. It was just...
I didn't like that, like, it was so limiting. Like, it takes X amount of time for you to get Yeah, like it takes X amount of time for you to be able to get a Kingpin contract set up. Like you can only do one per whatever. It's like I want to do it more than once. Oh no, we're just going to have this gate here for no fucking reason. It was just kind of dumb to me.
Well, you get around it by having
Great
more
idea,
characters.
but like also this is another thing that I think it was sort of missed on Bounty Contract Week. That event screams DLC updates, and I don't mean like paid updates. I just mean like we're adding like X number of new things to Bounty Contract Week. Like we have 4 new contracts. Like it would be awesome if randomly they just jumped a bunch in, but I just don't see them doing that. I bet it's going to be the same ones for the next year and a half.
I will eat my underwear if they fucking add new bounties. They will not.
They
add new
should.
bounties.
It would make it better.
No,
it would make it better.
Would it? That wouldn't be.
Yeah, if we had new ones.
Yeah.
If we.
Every
I
one of
think it
them is
would be.
indistinguishable from the other. I don't care about any of them.
This is rabbit holing, but I would love it that if you could place bounties, and it would have like if you were the person that picked up the bounty, it was like free for all on that person until you killed them.
Yeah, but I mean,
I know
this
it's wrong, man.
it's a theme park game though. I don't know how the hell you would do that.
It would be terrible, but you know that's just me because I love World PvP. You know.
Sure. I mean, and lots of people have had that idea. I just don't see a way for them to implement it. Okay.
Or you would have too many requirements.
Furion, most forgettable thing about this expansion? I haven't heard you talk in a while, so you may not even be there. Sounds like he's not. Cab, most forgettable thing about Rise of the Hutt Cartel for you?
Most forgettable thing in this expansion have to be probably the GSI dailies.
Oh shit!
Oh,
I
God.
actually
Oh,
did
I
forget about
actually
that.
forgot about that.
Holy shit! You just came
Oh
up with the
my
right
God.
answer.
Oh my god. I forgot that was a thing for this entire discussion.
I hit
my God.
legendary and I hit legendary and I
Yep.
was just fucking done. Okay,
Yep.
it's over.
Yep.
I can't believe I forgot.
I literally forgot that was a thing you could do in this game.
Hang on, now I'm gonna check my friggin' reps. Is there anything else like that?
Confirmed most forgettable thing in Rise of the Hutt Cartel.
God damn, that was a good answer.
Gold star for you, Cavienda.
Hooray.
Don't say that I've never said I was proud of you, Cav.
Okay.
Daddy Justin is proud.
Senpai has noticed you.
Thank you,
Aldria,
Senpai.
if you're here and you'd like to answer most forgettable thing.
I was gonna say the GSI dailies and the heroic, especially the one-time quests for macro binoculars and seeker droid. I did those literally once and never touched them again, just because they're so long, and the heroics
yeah.
you never are able to find people for.
Yes.
I
That
still
is
haven't done those on
definitely
pub side. I still need to.
me either. And, I mean, good fucking luck. I don't know who the hell you're going to find to do them at this stage of the game. Okay. I'm going to go the opposite direction. Aldria, most memorable thing about this expansion. What are you going to take away?
Come back to me. I need to think on that for a bit.
All right, Cab.
Losing orbital damage.
Really? That's what's
That
going to
is
stick
gonna
in
be
your mind
memorable.
for years to come.
Snipers and their fucking orbital tickle.
See, that's not my answer.
I mean, it's not my favorite thing, but it is going to be the most memorable thing for me.
Furion, I'm pretty sure still isn't here.
No, he's kicking my ass in PvP.
Were we talking like a thing that happened in 3.0, or
A thing
like
that
if it's-
happened, or like a
Because
thing
if
they
you let me
implemented.
get nostalgic, I'm going
Yeah,
to
you can-
say getting into D&T and then
Sure.
getting World 4th Dreadmaster
Okay,
after not even having fucking Nightmare anything clears. That would
Okay.
be my answer. But
My
most
actual-
memorable in general would
Well,
not be that.
I'm asking myself first, so stop jumping the gun here. I'm going down the line here. You gotta respect the order. My answer would actually be GSF, and I'm sure I'm like one of the few people who would actually say that, but I still really enjoy it, even though I don't actually play it actively anymore because all my ships are mastered. I'm hoping they introduce a new reward scheme like they talked about in the roundtable that I put up for download on SoundCloud. I just really want to play it some more, and I want a reason to play it some more, and I really enjoy it. So anyway, All right, now you can answer, Justin. Proceed.
So, like, if I'm not doing the nostalgia thing, which I think is just too obvious.
Again, there are no wrong answers to this. So
Yeah, but I have a different one. It may be minor to a lot of people, but I remember being very negative about the concept of Stronghold. I thought it was going to suck, and I openly sort of poo-pooed it. And when it came out, myself and many other people that also poo-pooed it took it to be very fun and a lot better than we figured it would be. And it's something that basically anybody from casual to hardcore can get into. And I think that Strongholds, outside of the fact that there's not a great demand to do it like a real main game connection outside of you get this achievement, here's a little mount thing to put in your Stronghold. Outside of that, there's not a reason. But it's awesome, and it's better than I thought it was going to be, and I think a lot of people are under that impression. And sometimes I go on and look at the listings, and I remember, like, I've gone on other servers, and I've seen, like, YOLO Stronghold on Ebonhawk, and that was really awesome, and I've seen DOMs, and, like, we look at our guild ship, which isn't Strongholds, but, like, we decorate it with Stronghold items, and we have a little thing in the corner of our guild ship, and it's literally a shrine to Dom, and it's this gold hut statue little portrait, and then you also have like a hut little couch, and you've got all this gross shit on the ground, and it's just like there are all these little immersion touches, and there are these just creative things in the game, and I just think it's awesome, and I think that it's good for the game, and yeah, pretty much that. I think Strongholds was a pretty big deal.
You are going to overlap in what you think is the best thing that got implemented, by the way. If that's your with
it's the most memorable. I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's the best thing. I think it's the most memorable thing because I remember it beating my expectations very strongly. I remember almost all of us in guild poo-pooing the shit out of it. I remember almost every Nightmare Raider I talked to joking about it like it was terrible. And then most of those same people went fucking ham on their strongholds. Like, sure. CAC's Stronghold is fantastic. YOLO's, Dom, almost everyone's like, oh, you need to see what I'm doing in my Stronghold now. Like, when people go and they kill Nightmare bosses and they get the Oriconian Warrior, it's like, oh, well, where am I going to put this? Oh, do I put it on Drummond Cost? Do I put it on Nar Shaddaa? Like, it's interesting to me how people are enjoying it because it's something that everyone can do, and they definitely did good with Stronghold. And even the Cartel packs. Like, I know that we're going to poo-poo, like, you know, Cartel, and everyone does Cartel, and it's stupid, and it's not real content. The Cartel packs have gotten better since Strongholds came out because of the decorations.
Yeah, that is actually something that people do end up using as opposed to vendoring, or you can't vendor it, but selling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's great. I think Strongholds as a whole has been very memorable, and I think we're going to look at it like, you know, in the future, we're going to look back at it as something that was very good for the game and kind of surprising that BioWare pulled it off in the way that they did. Because with the issues that they've had with their engine and with development in general, I mean, people did not expect them to be able to do it well. Let's be honest.
Tenebris, most memorable.
Most memorable thing is watching Sins go from worthless and unplayable in all three specs to probably the best in all three roles. Both roles, I mean.
You mean going from no one was able to use them to like doing catastrophic damage?
Couldn't tank on them, they couldn't do DPS, and now they're top DPS and probably the best tank. It's kind of fun. It's not the best thing that happened, but definitely the most memorable, because I was there struggling, trying to figure out how the fuck to make a useless class work.
Okay. And Tiggs, most memorable.
Oh wait, I'm gonna amend my answer.
Okay.
Arenas.
Oh yeah, that did happen.
I forgot that was 2.0. Feels like it's been around forever.
Was it 2.0? I thought it was 2.4.
It wasn't in 2.0, but it was in this expansion.
Tiggs, your answer. Most memorable thing during this expansion.
Mine was probably we went to do DP and I brought my Merc, well, my Bounty Hunter, my PT that was like in mostly Arcanian gear, and you're like, hey, we're gonna do Nightmare DP, Deposer. I was like, I have like 36k life, and you're like, nah, fuck it, Tig, you can do it, you know. of course, we had like randoms in there. It was a Mitch Max and tag from random people, and even a server transfer, and we
Yeah, we
still
had
managed to.
Levium hopped on.
Yeah, so it was a really fun night. Get to meet new people. Really challenged myself for once, so it was fun.
Okay. What is your least favorite thing? The worst thing? We'll roll these two questions into one. Least favorite, worst thing that happened this expansion? Tiggs. Oh, Aldrea, I was supposed to come back to you. Most memorable.
I'd have to say, just in general, going from being someone who does Group Finder story mode pugs to Nightmare rating, it's been great. There's a lot of little things that have changed along the way, but I'd say that's the biggest theme.
Okay, Tiggs. Least favorite, worst thing that happened?
Least favorite, worst thing that happened. My least favorite thing is to watch people leave the game all the time because of random things. It's never fun to lose contact with people that I enjoy, hanging out with.
Is that his famous connection fucking up?
Can you not hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. You just stopped talking for a second.
Yeah.
What did I leave off at?
You might as well just start over because I only heard like a sentence and a half.
Yeah.
Well, I was basically saying, I like playing MMOs because you get to meet, cool people, hang out, have a good time, and it's really saddening to lose a lot of those people just for, real life happens, game changes, whatever. It's always sad to lose someone, from your friends.
Yeah. Tenebris, least favorite, worst thing?
My less than serious answer is power techs. My more serious answer is probably removal of 8s.
Oh,
As much as I know nobody played them, I did, and they were a lot of fun.
You and Snave are still mourning the loss.
I mean, it's a personal thing, and I know it's better for the game for not to be here, but I did really, really enjoy 8s. And I prefer 4s, if that means anything.
Justin?
Worst thing that happened?
Worst, least favorite, whichever. Both.
I'd say that the answer is obvious in the kind of play that we do, and it's patch 2.8 when multiple servers got fucked in the ass on day one, and there were entire servers that couldn't raid DP Nightmare at release, and it basically killed the progression race from the jump. And there were some guilds that were never able to recover. Other guilds were basically shells of themselves because of it or for other reasons that were indirectly involved with it. I mean, we lost multiple guilds. I mean, Disciples of Babylon is now a shell of itself. Reckoning never recovered from what happened on day one. Droplegate's Hoth for a while could not consistently raid. Whenever they would raid, they would get disconnected within 5 minutes of a pull, and it would take 30 to 40 minutes to get back in. There were entire guilds that lost all their members because their members were just kicked from guilds. There were people that were in Nightmare raiding guilds that went from subscriber to free to play, even though they had active subscriptions because of what happened. I mean, I think that was, in my opinion, the lowest point this game has had since 1.2 when it comes to stuff that I care about in the game. Now, it didn't affect Pot 5, and it didn't affect Harbinger at some level, like it did. Like, Zors had trouble raiding, but eventually they were able to, and they were able to clear it day one. And pub side Harbinger was broke his balls for, like, the first day. But, I mean, the servers that were impacted from it, I mean, some of those guilds haven't been able to recover.
Yeah, that did suck. I did feel for the Harbinger people, and I believe it happened to Red Eclipse too, right? It was Sosu servers. That did suck for them, and it basically killed their progression for most of them, except for like Zors. My least favorite thing was killing ourselves this last round of Nightmare. For the timed run, we obviously redeemed ourselves for the most part for both instances, but due to a variety of factors, we did not perform as well as I think we could have, or should have, given the circumstances. So that was my least favorite thing that happened this expansion. It has nothing really to do with the game itself, it's just organizational stuff. Furion, if you're back, you can give that answer. If you're not, I will move on to Dom, who is joining us now.
Dom's in a match.
Oh, Dom's busy. Okay. Cab, least favorite, worst thing that happened this expansion?
Doing a straight year of fucking DF DP progression.
Well, it wasn't a progression for a fucking year, right? It was farm.
Nah. This is assuming that you weren't in a shield at the start of 2.0. Or whenever fucking DFDP came out, it's like 2.4.
And Aldria, least favorite, worst thing that happened?
Not a whole lot of things that screwed me over personally, but I think for the game in general, 2.8, that was by far the buggiest patch.
You're talking
with the most
DP
issues.
Nightmare and...
Yeah,
housing.
when 2.8 came out, when all the servers had the lag problems and the disconnects and the people getting kicked from guilds. So basically the same thing Justin said.
Alright, I'm reversing the question and reversing the order. Aldria, favorite or best thing that happened this expansion?
Well, for me personally, playing an assassin, the 2.8 and 2.10 patches. That was great, especially 2.8, because it made Madness useful.
It made your class worth playing. is what you're getting
Exactly.
at. Yes. Cab?
Can you come back to me?
Okay. Dom's busy, Furion's busy. I will answer... This is kind of a tough one. I'm gonna give the really cheesy answer and say this show actually started during the expansion, and I really enjoy doing it, and it got me a trip to California. So I'm gonna say doing this show, or starting this show in general, is my favorite thing that happened this expansion. And look forward to that continuing into Shadow of Revan. Justin.
What's the question? I was busy arguing with Miles about things that are irrelevant.
Sure. What is your favorite or best thing that happened this expansion?
The best thing that happened this expansion is the nostalgic, cheesy thing. And it's, I went from being a guy who would do story modes and struggle to do 16-man story mode stuff and wipe on fights that you guys laugh about, to randomly one time, because Tenebrous was like, oh, you can go in as adventure buddy. I got into the guild. You guys, like, most of the fucking guild had no idea who I was. I was just some guy from the stream. And over time, like, I got to know you guys, like, outside of stream and got context for all the goofy stuff that I've heard. And one day, somebody quit a raid, and that sucked, and he never came back. But you guys were like, I wonder if we can we put somebody who's really only done story mode content in a Nightmare? And you guys did, and we were able to kill content with it. And now I'm in D&T, and I raid Nightmare, and that was pretty fucking cool. And it would not have happened if it wasn't for the fact that I got really bored and started watching D&T streams. I think that's my favorite thing that happened during Rise of the Hutt Cartel.
Tenebrous? Oh, Lox is here. What's your favorite thing that happened during this expansion, Lox?
I came in to just tell Justin I was puking on the happiness.
Oh, so you enjoy puking. All right. Tenebrous, your answer?
My favorite thing is definitely... favorite game thing is definitely Arenas. Having something that's quote-unquote semi-competitive, at least, even though it's, as we all know, it's dodge the shitty healers. It's definitely awesome. I think the best thing that happened personally is probably, I don't know, like, the massive guild shakeups that have happened. I think that we're a lot better off now.
Are you talking, like, for Death and Taxes itself?
Yes, yes.
I would agree. We got rid of some bad actors. In fact, probably the worst actors that were that tended to hold us back with attitude, shit like that. I would agree with that from an organizational standpoint.
We lost her daddy.
Well, that's not actually a good thing. I would vastly prefer if he was here and available. That's not who I'm talking about. Anyway, Tiggs, what about you?
I would say I missed the gun, most of the expansion, but I would say coming back to the expansion and expecting everything to be like EV and was, and I was like, oh great, someone's complaining about a hard mode, nightmare raid, and then I actually get into them, and I get pleasantly surprised that at least that there's some DPS checks and some mechanic checks, easy ways to die to stupid. So it was very refreshing to come back to the game and see that there was actually things to do. Instead of, can you fall on a platform for, hours at a time and wait for the fight to not break?
I want to also amend my answer, by the way. The actual raids we got during this expansion, I know they're old now, I know we're tired of them, they were pretty good. Scum and Villainy was fucking good. Both DF and DP were also pretty fucking good from a design perspective. Gropthok is still probably my favorite boss that's still on live.
Are we talking pre-nerf or post-nerf?
Oh, I don't any instance of Gropthok, I don't care which like just from a fight design standpoint.
Yeah, Johnny Gropthok's cool.
No one will never forget the legendary fails.
Cab, I said I would come back to you. What's your answer?
I would have to say that first pre-nerf Brontes kill.
Pretty decent.
What a bitch of a fight.
Am I the only one who loved Brontes? Like, I loved
No,
that
no,
fight.
No, I like the fight.
I despise that fight.
I mean,
From a
I
design
can understand.
perspective, it's there's some serious imbalances there from what's required of people.
Bring
On
four
Brontes,
snipers.
like honestly, like I get to be the fucking like armchair quarterback since I didn't have to deal with the DF progression. Anytime someone has an opinion like very strong one way or the other when it's from D&T about Brontes, I literally just view it in the eyes of them either having Stockholm syndrome due to wiping for like fucking hundreds of pulls because like shit kept on fucking up, or you like didn't have the tanks you wanted or whatever, or they just like got an odd fucking murder boner for a specific mechanic that just fucked the raid over and over. Like I don't know if it's fair for me to say that, but anytime someone from D&T talks about Brontes, I just sort of chuckle because it's one of those fights that D&T wasn't really good at as a whole, and it's just one of those things. And I compare it to Council, where most of us are pretty fine with Council, and that's probably because at one point we just got really good at Council, and we were able to clear Council on goofy fucking alts of the 7th degree that don't matter that we'd never bring to any other instant. And we don't really do that for Brontes. That's how I just think of that boss as a whole. I don't think it's the best designed boss. Like, there are things about it to me that are inherently stupid. It's dumb that for 6 minutes the fight is an absolute joke, and then all of a sudden at the end the difficulty just ratchets up. But I don't think that the end of the fight is like, oh my god, difficult. It's just that they ratchet it up for like no reason. It's like 3 phases of Joketown, and then a 4th phase of like get that butt clenchometer up to 9.
It would just get frustrating for me sometimes, I suppose. I have a lot less attempts than most of you guys. I mean, I've only even killed it maybe 5-6 times total. But, it gets frustrating, like, when you get, like, 3 or 4, sometimes 5, orbs as a jug, and it's like, the raid wipes at, like, 5k life. It's like, oh, you should have gotten more, and it's like, I would love to, but, mechanics are mechanics. You can only do what you can do.
Silly jug. Why are you a jug, Tiggs?
I think another personal thing about this expansion that it doesn't really fit into the questions is this was when I learned to play a lot more classes. Like, I now feel comfortable bringing all 8 classes in all 3 roles pretty much to a Nightmare raid, which I would not say I was comfortable doing on any class besides my Assassin and Marauder before.
I would say the same, but I don't know if I would say the same before we spent 14 months in DF and DP. Because before all that, I was like on my sniper, sure, and then I was on my power tech, and I didn't really play anything else. But then, what with there being a big long content drought, I had to do other stuff, or I would just stop playing the game. So I think that kind of forced me to learn other shit. But that's just me. I don't know. Anything anybody else has to say about Rise of the Hutt Cartel before we close the book on this expansion forever?
I think that everybody should go back and look at class balance when we started and where it is now, and kind of marvel at the fact that they did actually fix it.
Yes, it is better. Much better.
The game is miles better from when it was pre-55. Like, there are things about Hutt Cartel that I can't stand, and like it got bland towards the end because the content cycle was so stretched. But I played this game from launch pretty much, and it got so much better. 2.0 was like, we're going to give you all kinds of QOL changes, we're going to make the game better, the game's going to perform better. There are still situations where performance is garbage, like when you're doing 16-man Nightmare content, but compared to when we were at level 50, even doing EC with 8-man, like, the performance has gotten so much better, the quality of life has gotten better, like, the stability of the game's gotten better, the balance is better. Like, I'm very happy with what Hutt Cartel did, and if 3.0 can build off of that in a positive way, then maybe I can like get off of my fucking little emo life is over cloud. But yeah, that's basically what I think.
All right, that's honestly all the content I have prepared. We actually went much longer than I expected to.
Yeah, I'm amazed actually that you're still going.
Yeah, I usually try to keep it to 2 hours because of YouTube, but I guess I'm just gonna have to split the video. Announcements. Does anybody have any personal announcements they'd like to get out before I talk about what's gonna happen for 3.0?
I'm dying.
We already know you're dying.
We're probably in pretty much the same shape, Rum, so anything you say pretty much applies to me.
Alright. So normally in any other scenario I would be up at 6 in the morning or whenever servers come up to start leveling for a new expansion. However, my father's getting bypass surgery the day of, so I will be in San Antonio, not anywhere near my computer, on Tuesday. As a consequence, I will probably not be part of the first streams. I will encourage my guild to fill in for me. If I want people to stream their leveling experiences, stream the first raids they go into. We've been talking privately. We're probably going to do the story modes first, just to get a little bit of the new gear before stepping into hard mode. So look forward to that. Everybody who is tagged under the DNT team, you should be able to access by clicking up near the title bar on Twitch, where it says Death and Taxes and has a link. I know Tenebris is there. I'm pretty sure Furion is there. And if Crack isn't there, I'll try to get him there as well. And I don't actually know off the top of my head who else streams.
Isn't Devasta up there too?
Devasta's there, but he rarely streams anymore.
I'll be streaming when I get home, but I have much limited playtime for the next few weeks.
Tenebris' time is limited too. Because of school. Anyway,
I'll be streaming when servers come out.
Gonna laugh if the dying fat guy here beats all you to level 60.
I'm sure
you
will.
probably will, and then you'll fucking die because you put too many hours into leveling.
It's happening.
You'll get to level 60 and be like, God, I feel my blood moving, it hurts.
You know what?
You're gonna keel over and Nerioth's gonna hit us up on the forums.
Someone does something about the Koreans' monopoly on gamers dying while playing. I will pick up this banner and lead us proudly forth as America once again becomes a contender.
Well, yeah.
The poster child for American excellence in video gaming since, I don't know, the year 1845 when he was conceived under a full moon.
Obviously, I play a lot of video games, and it's a big part of my life, but, real life is intruding this week. Hopefully everything goes well. If it goes well, I'll be back here as soon as possible. So, earliest would likely be Wednesday evening. I will maintain status updates on Twitter. But other than that, I've got really no other announcements. If nobody else has anything to say, that'll be it for Death and Taxes. Thank you all for watching. See y'all when I see y'all. I don't know when we're going to do another show. I guess we can do one post-launch. If things go okay, we might be able to do this again next Sunday and just actually talk about the nitty-gritty of what the content actually is, and we can talk about the story in greater detail. Any case, thanks again for watching. See you next time.